Imagine waking up one day and, finding out that your dog has gone entirely blind.
Yeah, that would be terrifying.
Right. But the craziest part is you didn't even notice because they had perfectly mapped your entire house by smell.
It's honestly incredible how they adapt.
It really is. And, welcome to today's deep dive. Today, we are looking under the hood of one of the most recognizable but also kind of structurally compromised biological machines on Earth. I'm talking about the Dachshund.
Oh, yeah, the classic wiener dog.
Exactly.
Yeah.
When you picture this breed, it's like almost impossible not to immediately think of that stereotype. The incredibly long body, the
Yeah.
comically short little legs, the big floppy ears.
Right, it's a silhouette that practically invites this, cartoonish reputation.
Yeah. But our mission today, for you, the listener, is to extract the really vital takeaways from an extensive, highly detailed veterinary series that focuses entirely on the health realities of this specific breed. We want to move past that pop culture image and understand the actual biology.
And it is a fascinating biological machine to analyze. I mean, truly. That unique physical structure that makes them so globally recognizable, well, it fundamentally dictates how they move through the physical world.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it also dictates the specific medical vulnerabilities they carry. Understanding those vulnerabilities is really the key to giving them a long, good life.
Okay, let's unpack this because right out of the gate, there is a massive misconception we need to clear up for you. In diving through all these veterinary journals, one thing became abundantly clear.
Which is so important to highlight.
Yeah, having a breed predisposition is not like a crystal ball for your dog's future.
Yeah.
I think people often read a breed profile and assume, oh, I have a dachshund, therefore my dog is destined to experience this exact terrifying list of medical crises.
Oh, that mindset is incredibly common. And it unfortunately creates this baseline of just, well, unnecessary anxiety for an owner.
Right.
When veterinary science states that a breed is predisposed to a condition, it's really just indicating a statistical probability across a broad population.
Okay, so it's broad.
Exactly. It means dogs with this specific genetic makeup develop the issue more frequently than, say, a mixed breed dog might. It does not act as a prophecy for the individual dog sitting in your living room.
The analogy that kept coming to mind as I read through our sources is human family health history.
Oh, that's a good way to look at it.
Like, if your family tree has a strong lineage of, say, high cholesterol, it doesn't mean you're 100% guaranteed to suffer from it.
Right, exactly.
It simply serves as a warning label. It means you should probably pay closer attention to your diet, get your blood work done more consistently than someone whose family has zero history of cardiovascular issues.
That framing is highly accurate. I mean, genetics essentially load certain probabilities into the biological equation, but they don't single-handedly write the outcome.
The environment matters too, right?
Huge impact. The remainder of that narrative is heavily influenced by environmental factors, daily lifestyle choices, and frankly, the consistency of preventative medical care.
So it's not all predetermined.
Not at all. The goal of mapping out these predispositions isn't to induce panic every time your dog sneezes. The goal is strategic awareness.
Strategic awareness. I like that.
Yeah, because when you know the specific mechanisms of what to watch out for, you and your vet can intervene early. And in veterinary medicine, early intervention is literally everything.
It totally shifts you from this reactive panic to a proactive strategy. And, since we're already discussing the intersection of genetic probabilities and that unique physical architecture, we really have to start with the most famous visible trait of the Dachshund.
Oh, the spine.
Yeah, and the major health condition tied to it. We need to talk about that incredibly long back and a term that strikes fear into the heart of pretty much all owners, which is IVDD.
Yes, intervertebral disc disease. If you spend, any time around this breed, IVDD is the acronym you're going to hear the most.
Right.
It's the condition most heavily associated with their specific skeletal structure.
So I want to break down the actual mechanics of this because the sources we pulled from go much deeper than just saying, well, they have bad backs.
Right, it's way more complex than that.
We know they have a long spine, and between each vertebrae, there are these discs that act like little shock absorbers. In my mind, I picture them like jelly donuts sitting between the bones, keeping everything nice and cushioned.
That's a great visual.
But what is physically failing in a dog with IVDD?
Well, the jelly donut analogy is actually perfect for visualizing the anatomy. In a healthy spine, those discs are pliable, they're gelatinous, very squishy.
Like a fresh donut.
Exactly. But in a dog with IVDD, those discs undergo premature degeneration. So instead of staying soft and bouncy, the outer shell of the disc
Yeah,
calcifies.
like it literally
It
hardens.
hardens, it becomes brittle much earlier in life than it normally should. And when that happens, the disc can suddenly herniate.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, the hardened outer layer tears, and that soft material inside just bursts outward and it presses directly into the spinal canal.
Which is where the spinal cord lives.
Yes.
And I imagine having a burst disc pushing against a bundle of nerves is just excruciating.
It is. It causes immense pain and severely disrupts the nervous system's ability to even communicate with the rest of the body. That pressure is what leads to all those neurological deficits.
I have to push back a little on the root cause here, though, or at least, play devil's advocate based on their shape.
Sure.
Because looking at them, they're shaped like hot dogs. They have this incredibly long span of spine that isn't supported by legs in the middle. It looks like a suspension bridge missing its center pillars.
That's a very common observation, yeah.
So is this spinal failure purely a mechanical issue of like gravity and physics just taking a toll on an unsupported back?
What's fascinating here is that we're actually looking at a compounding mechanism. I mean, the physics definitely align with your bridge analogy. The biomechanics of an unsupported span absolutely create massive physical stress.
Right.
But the biological reality adds a severe second layer of risk. We have to look at the materials that bridge is actually built from. Dachshunds carry a specific genetic mutation called chondrodysplasia.
Okay, that's the dwarfism gene, right? The thing that gives them the short legs.
Exactly. But chondrodysplasia doesn't just stop at making the leg bones short. It actively alters cartilage's development throughout their entire body.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, and the shock-absorbing discs in the spine, they're made of cartilage. So you have a dog with genetically compromised, brittle cartilage combined with a physical body shape that maximizes mechanical leverage and strain on those exact same fragile discs.
So it's a double whammy.
It really is. It's structural strain meeting biological vulnerability.
Wow, that paints a much clearer, albeit kind of intense, picture. The bridge isn't just unsupported. The concrete itself is basically prone to crumbling.
That's a very accurate way to summarize it.
So for the listener at home, what are the subtle mechanical signs this is happening before, the donut bursts entirely?
Because the disc degeneration happens over time, you really want to watch for subtle shifts in mobility. Like, a classic red flag is a sudden reluctance to engage in vertical movement.
Like jumping.
Right. If your dog normally leaps onto the couch without any hesitation and then suddenly stands at the base, just staring up at it, pay close attention.
Because it hurts to launch up.
Exactly. You might also notice a hunched posture where they curve their back upward to guard the spine from movement.
Oh, seen that.
Yeah. Or they might have a distinct sensitivity if you just pet them along their back. In more advanced stages, you'll see weakness or this uncoordinated dragging in the hind legs.
That sounds terrifying.
It is, and if you observe any of these, a wait-and-see approach is really dangerous. Prompt veterinary evaluation is critical to relieve that pressure before permanent damage occurs.
But again, relying on our opening premise, having the chondrodysplasia gene doesn't guarantee your dog's spine is going to fail, which brings us to a really crucial transition.
Yes, the modifiable factors.
Exactly. If the structure is fragile, the most vital thing we can control is the load placed on it. Here's where it gets really interesting, because we're moving from complex genetics to a modifiable master key that you literally hold in your hand, which is weight management.
Absolutely. Obesity in this breed isn't merely a general health concern, like it might be for a Labrador.
Right.
It is the single most aggressive amplifier for the skeletal issues we just discussed. Adding excess weight to that long, unsupported, genetically vulnerable spine is just catastrophic.
Going back to the bridge analogy, if the structure is already dealing with a long span and brittle materials, the absolute worst thing you can do is permanently park a fleet of heavy trucks on it.
Exactly. You're just asking for a collapse.
You're dialing up the mechanical stress to a breaking point. But the research points out that the spine isn't the only thing buckling under that weight. We also have to look at the joints, specifically a condition called patellar luxation.
Right. The joints take a massive secondary impact from the structure and any added weight. Patellar luxation basically refers to the kneecap, the patella shifting out of its normal anatomical alignment.
Reading through the notes on the knee joint, I kept picturing a train track. Like the kneecap is supposed to glide smoothly up and down in a specific groove on the femur, kind of like a train on a rail.
That is the exact anatomical intent, yes. But in a lot of small breeds, that groove is genetically shallower than it should be.
So the rails are too shallow.
Right. The rails aren't deep enough to hold the train. So as the dog moves, the patella just slips out of the groove and luxates or dislocates to the side.
But if the groove is too shallow and the kneecap is just floating around, how does an owner even spot that? I mean, their legs are barely 4 inches long to begin with. You aren't going to see a kneecap visibly sliding around from across the living room.
No, you won't see the joint itself at all, but you will see the behavioral compensation. The hallmark sign is a very specific intermittent skipping gait. Yeah. The dog will be trotting along, and suddenly they'll hitch one of their hind legs up toward their belly for a split second, skip a step, and then return to a completely normal walk.
Wait, are they basically kicking the leg out to pop the train back onto the tracks?
Effectively, yes.
That's wild.
The extension of the leg actually snaps the tendon and the kneecap back into that shallow groove, and then they keep moving as if nothing happened. It can be incredibly brief.
I feel like a lot of people would completely dismiss that. Like, you see a dog skip for half a second, you just assume they stepped on a sharp piece of mulch or got a thorn in their paw or something.
Oh, all the time. Which is why understanding the biological spectrum of this condition is so vital.
Yeah.
Patellar luxation ranges from a grade 1, where it pops out rarely and causes minimal arthritis, to a grade 4, where the kneecap is permanently dislocated, causing severe bone deformity and pain.
So it gets progressively worse if left unchecked.
Exactly. And you cannot diagnose the grade from your yard based on a quick skip. It requires a veterinarian to physically palpate the joint, feel the depth of the groove, and actually assess the cartilage wear.
Okay, so we've established the mechanics of the spine and the joints. These are structural realities that heavily dictate mobility, and they're things we can, visibly observe if we know what to look for.
Right, they're mechanical.
But the transition from structural stress to our next topic is fascinating because we're moving from things we can actively watch for to silent degradations we might entirely miss. Let's look at the hidden health checks starting right inside the mouth. Dental disease.
Oh, dental disease. It affects the vast majority of all dog breeds eventually, sure, but Dachshunds and similar small breeds face a distinct architectural disadvantage here.
Yeah, I hadn't even considered the geometry of the jaw until I read these sources. They have this narrow, elongated snout, but they still possess the standard 42 teeth of a normal adult dog. It's literally like trying to force a full set of adult human teeth into a toddler's mouth. The real estate simply doesn't support the inventory.
That is a brilliant way to put it. The overcrowding is severe. And that architectural crowding changes the entire environment of the mouth. When teeth are jammed tightly against one another like that, they create these deep, unnatural crevices that just trap plaque and bacteria.
Which is hard to clean.
Right. And furthermore, dogs normally clean their teeth mechanically by crunching on kibble and chew toys. But when the mouth is that overcrowded, that mechanical scraping action is highly inefficient.
So they can't chew properly to clean the teeth, the plaque solidifies into tartar, and then the gums get inflamed.
Exactly the progression.
Aside from noticing severe bad breath, I would deduce that an owner should look for behavioral shifts at dinner time. If it hurts to chew because the gums are inflamed, are they, dropping food out of the side of their mouth or suddenly swallowing kibble whole?
Those are primary behavioral indicators, absolutely. They might favor one side of the mouth while eating or completely abandon hard toys they used to love.
Okay, makes sense.
But the critical piece to understand here is that dental disease is not localized to the mouth.
It spreads.
Yes. The gums are highly vascular, so when they're inflamed and bleeding, the bacteria from that rotting plaque enters the bloodstream directly. Over time, that constant bacterial shower severely taxes the immune system and heavily damages the valves of the heart and the filtration systems of the kidneys.
Oh, wow. So brushing a small dog's teeth isn't just a cosmetic luxury for bad breath. It is literal preventative organ care.
100%. It's systemic health.
Now, sticking to the head and face, there is another hidden condition that fundamentally stunned me during our research. We kind of hinted at it in the introduction. PRA, or progressive retinal atrophy.
Yes. Progressive retinal atrophy is an inherited disease that attacks the photoreceptor cells in the back of the eye. Over time, those cells just slowly degrade and die, which leads to irreversible blindness.
This is where I really struggle with the practical reality of pet ownership. How does an owner fail to notice their dog going blind?
It happens more often than you'd think.
I mean, if my vision started fading, I'd be bumping into doorways and tripping over the coffee table. You would think a dog losing its sight would be glaringly obvious.
You would think so, but the deception lies in the timeline and the dog's profound biological stoicism. PRA is not a light switch that suddenly flips off. It's a dimmer switch that takes months, or sometimes even years, to fully darken.
Okay, so it's very gradual.
Very gradual. And the initial degradation usually targets the rod cells first, which are responsible for low light vision.
Oh, so the first symptom wouldn't be walking into a wall at noon. It would be hesitating to go out into the dark backyard at night.
Precisely. You might notice they pause at the edge of the porch light or seem a bit unsure in dimly lit rooms.
But fine in the sun.
Right. During the day, their vision seems completely normal, so owners just dismiss the nighttime hesitation as the dog being stubborn or maybe getting a little older.
That makes total sense.
But as the daylight vision eventually begins to fade, the dog instinctively and just seamlessly shifts its reliance to its other senses. They use their hearing to track movement and their highly advanced olfactory system to literally smell the boundaries of a room. They memorize the physical layout of your house so perfectly that they can navigate it without sight.
That is just wild. The dog is literally running a mental simulation of the house based on scent and memory, and the owner thinks everything is perfectly fine.
It's incredible. Owners often only realize the dog is actually blind when they do something like move a major piece of furniture or take the dog to an unfamiliar hotel room, and suddenly the dog's mental map fails and they start colliding with things.
Because the map changed.
Exactly. Because they adapt so quietly, you really cannot trust your casual observation. Catching PRA requires a clinical eye exam where a veterinarian uses specialized equipment to look deep into the retina for those cellular changes long before the dog's mental map fails.
That incredible, quiet adaptability completely shifts the perspective. It really forces us to realize that we can't always rely on obvious physical warning signs. And, that realization transitions us perfectly into our final category of the deep dive.
The systemic issues.
Yeah, systemic issues that require calm awareness rather than panic. Let's tackle the one that sounds the most terrifying on paper, epilepsy.
Right. So epilepsy is a neurological disorder characterized by recurrent, unprovoked seizures. In Dachshunds, the research indicates a hereditary predisposition to idiopathic epilepsy, meaning there's no underlying brain tumor or toxin causing it.
It's just a misfire.
Yeah, it's basically a genetic neurological short circuit.
So what does this all mean for you, the listener? I'll be honest. Reading the mechanics of a seizure, the electrical storm in the brain, the sudden loss of consciousness, the thrashing, it feels like an absolute nightmare scenario.
It is very scary to witness.
If a breed is predisposed to this, why isn't every owner living in constant fear?
Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture, it's vital to remember the statistics of predisposition we talked about earlier. The vast majority of Dachshunds will never experience a seizure in their entire lifetime.
Okay, that's reassuring.
Right. The point of discussing this neurological short circuit isn't to make an owner terrified of a hypothetical event. It's to equip them with context. Witnessing a dog have a seizure is deeply traumatic for an owner.
I can only imagine.
If you don't know it's a possibility, your first instinct is sheer panic.
You probably think your dog is actively dying.
Exactly, the fear we want to prevent. If you're aware of the predisposition and a seizure does happen, you can bypass that panic. You understand it's a neurological electrical storm.
You know what it is.
Yes. You know to keep your hands away from their mouth, clear the area of hard objects so they don't hurt themselves, time the duration of the event, and then calmly seek a veterinarian once the storm passes. Preparation neutralizes panic.
Preparation neutralizes panic. That makes perfect sense. It's about having the protocol mentally filed away just in case. Now, the last systemic category we need to cover is one that seems far less dramatic than a seizure, but arguably impacts a dog's daily comfort much more frequently, which is skin and allergies.
Yes, skin sensitivities and allergic dermatitis are highly prevalent. People forget the skin is an organ, and in some dogs, the immune system guarding that organ is incredibly hyperactive.
The analogy I drew from the sources is an overactive home security system.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, like a normal dog's immune system ignores harmless things like grass or pollen. But a dog with allergies has a security alarm that treats a gust of wind like a shattered window, triggering a massive inflammatory response.
That is a highly accurate biological comparison. The immune system flags a harmless environmental factor like pollen, dust mites, or even a specific protein in their food as a severe, life-threatening attack.
And then what happens?
It sends a flood of histamines to the skin, resulting in intense itching, redness, hair loss, and recurring ear infections, since the ear canal is lined with skin, too.
Oh, right, the ears.
Yep. Furthermore, The different coat types, smooth, long-haired, and wire-haired, they all trap environmental allergens differently and require very specific grooming maintenance to protect that skin barrier.
I would deduce this is the area where well-meaning owners make the biggest mistakes by trying to play WebMD at home.
Oh, constantly.
You see the dog scratching, so you assume it's the food. You change their kibble 3 times in a month, then you buy a medicated shampoo off the internet, and nothing works.
Home diagnostics for skin issues are almost entirely counterproductive because that overactive security alarm can be triggered by food, environment, parasites, or even a combination of all three.
So the huge guessing game.
And playing that guessing game usually just prolongs the dog's discomfort. It requires a systemic, controlled medical approach, usually involving strict elimination diets or allergy testing, to isolate the specific trigger.
Okay, we have unpacked a massive amount of biology today. We've looked at the compromised materials of the chondrodysplasia spine and IVDD, the floating kneecaps and shallow grooves of patellar luxation, the architectural crowding causing severe dental disease,
It's a long list.
and the silent fading in the retina and PRA, plus systemic reactions like neurological short circuits and overactive immune systems.
When summarized in a single breath like that, it really underscores just how complex the specific biological machine truly is.
It really does. But we have to return to our core mission from the start of this deep dive. This information is not a doom and gloom prophecy, it is an owner's manual.
Beautifully said.
So how does an owner practically apply this manual? Well, at the macro population level, mitigating these risks relies heavily on responsible breeding and rigorous genetic health screening, to slowly breed out the brittle cartilage and shallow knee grooves over generations.
That's the long game, absolutely.
Yeah.
However, for the individual dog currently sleeping on your rug, the best defense is a disciplined, three-pronged approach.
Okay, what are the 3 prongs?
First, lifelong preventative veterinary care. Do not skip those annual exams because a professional needs to look for the hidden degradation of PRA and the creeping tartar in that overcrowded mouth.
Right, the stuff we can't see.
Exactly. Second, aggressive weight management. Protect the structural integrity of that spine and those joints by keeping the load minimal. And third, attentive daily observation.
You really have to notice the subtle behavioral compensations, like the slight hesitation at the bottom of the stairs, the quick skip during a trot, the avoidance of a hard chew toy.
Spot on.
Catching those early behavioral shifts allows your vet to intervene before a full-blown crisis.
Because medical knowledge applied consistently over time is really the ultimate preventative medicine.
Without a doubt.
Yeah.
And I want to leave you with one final thought to mull over today, building on something that truly shifted my perspective during this deep dive.
Yeah.
We discussed how dogs with progressive retinal atrophy adapt so remarkably to going blind mapping their environment through scent and sound that their owners often have no clue their dog's world has gone entirely dark. It really is staggering.
It is a staggering display of biological stoicism and adaptability, which makes you wonder, if an animal is capable of quietly hiding something as profound as the total loss of their vision, what other subtle physical limitations or small daily chronic pains are our pets constantly compensating for, completely under our radar, simply because their deepest instinct is to adapt to the world rather than complain about it?
Wow. It demands a fundamental shift in how closely and how critically we observe the animals we share our lives with.
It really does. Next time you look at your dog, try to look past the cute, cartoonish silhouette and really analyze how they're navigating their physical world. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. We'll catch you next time.